Good evening. Salutations. March 22nd, Wednesday, 2023. 3:20. Oh, 3:22:23. Yeah. Close enough. How are y'all doing tonight? Good evening, Charlie and Stacy and Nasha and KJ and Pivy. Ms. Yeah. It's a great joke. Great joke, Nasha. It's even better the last 40 years that I've heard it. Look how big this must have reset. I installed a new version. Did that just disappear or did that? All right, I got a new version of eCam, so things will probably not be working the way that, or not all be working the way that they're supposed to be working. But anyway, good evening. Pivy, I say your name right all the time now. I've stopped. I have not said your name wrong in weeks. That's a good question, Charlie. I thought that was it. I thought daylight savings time, I had heard was going away. I heard it was going away, but still here right now. Also, I'm honestly ashamed. I've been wearing this nail strengthener so that I can play guitar better and also maybe not, chew on my fingernails so much. I find myself vaguely embarrassed by it. Excuse me. But anyway, I had a big week. A big week. I can't wait to talk about it. Bits of it. Some of you all know that I've been a fan for a few years of this place called Dream Guitars. And hey, Q, the DST bill didn't make it past the Senate. Of course it didn't. I wonder how many riders would have to be added on to the DST bill in order for it to make it past the Senate. What companies would have to get spikes in their would have to get their market cap increased and see a giant spike, or possibly a giant fall that they can sell off, do a runoff before the fall. How many companies would that have to happen to? How many summer homes upstate New York would have to be bought in order for the DST bill to actually make it through the Senate? More than none. And Trump didn't get arrested yesterday? I was really looking. I still think that. So I read. Obviously, I've been following it, somewhat. He wants, and I think, he can have this happen. I think, if and when he is arrested, he wants to do a traditional perp walk. Like he wants to be handcuffed and led from Mar-a-Lago, so I assume where he will be, to wherever, they're taking him away. And that is a Trumpian stroke of brilliance, right? That is the reason he was successful in the first place, is his ability to make calls like that. He will be immortalized by it. He'll be martyred by his base the images of him in handcuffs will get him elected. And he knows it. Resonate with the common people. Like, he'll somehow be a victim of the justice system and yet not acknowledge the actual inherent bias in the justice system. The bias that he believes exists in the justice. That's really ironic, right? Like, he's acknowledging that there is a bias, but he's not acknowledging the actual bias. He's making one up for himself. And he'll probably get elected. And then we will experience the bloodstorm. That will be the reign of blood. Tom Araya will have nothing on the dying, sputtering years of Trump fury. You think he broke rules last? Just imagine what would be going through his head from day one. Off the rails from day one. He would just be settling scores as much as possible. Yeah, hey Jeff, and yeah, exactly. He was, trying to start civil unrest, inciting, and being Trump. But it seems clear, at least to me. Hi, Lisa. Hey, Amy. Seems pretty clear, at least to me, that he's going to be the Republican nominee. It's not going to be Ron DeSantis. Like, that's more and more obvious every day. Everything that person says. Moby Dick, hello. The ecosystem cannot, ecosystem might be fucked already, right? Just, I think I said it last week or the week before. Like, if I could just run a simulation of Trump in the White House for 4 years, like, or make it just a TV show that didn't actually affect human lives, I would do that. Because I would love to watch it. If it weren't for the fact that you think like the courts are biased now, imagine after 4 more years. Look, nobody's invincible, right? The conservative side of SCOTUS right now is pretty youthful, comparatively speaking. The liberal side, still not so much. So, I did a thing. I went this past week. I've been, like I said, for a couple of years, I've been following this place called Dream Guitars. They have an online web store. They post videos all the time of new merchandise they get in. They deal with a lot of like steel string, kind of Appalachian kind of stuff, flat picking. But they do a pretty healthy nylon business as well. And I was in the market for a crossover model because, in my head, I'm still envisioning a time where I am able to go into coffee shop or bookstore and play a set in a way that I used to do when I was much younger. So I was thinking, crossover model would be nice because I have a decent steel string acoustic and I have a really nice nylon string. flamenco guitar. And the steel string acoustic has, built-in pickups. You can go active electronics on something that didn't exist before. But what I wanted was a crossover nylon string. So I went to visit Dream Guitars in, I think they're in Weaverville, which is just outside of Asheville, North Carolina. It's like a 7-hour drive. Stayed in a beautiful, beautiful B&B that the B&B owner made the place. He built the place from scratch in the style of Frank Lloyd Wright. I have some pictures I'll show. Hello, Beans. Yeah, I read this too, Jeff. Yeah. I think this is a known fact at this point. Literally waited until Reagan was elected. Screwing Jimmy, even though Jimmy brokered the deal, right? Beans, which mountains? The Blue Ridge Mountains. So yeah, outside of Asheville. So I went there, and if you go to their website right now, they didn't give me a discount or not promoted or anything. I mean, you can just see they have they deal with luthiered instruments. They don't generally deal with factory-made instruments, which is where my interest lies as well. So I was curious about getting a crossover. So I wanted to play nylon string, and I wanted to be able to plug it into a 1/4 inch and have it be amplified. I got there. They have a 4,000 square foot warehouse in with like dentist's office and stuff. It's strange. And none of the guitars were on the floor. Apparently because the drop ceilings, there's so much space above the drop ceilings that they couldn't properly humidify the space the way that they would need to in order to have these guitars out. So they're actually like in the process of moving again because they could not humidify the space properly to store these guitars. And these are like they have $500,000 guitars there. They literally had a $500,000 guitar, 2 $500,000 guitars there. So it's not like something where they can just be like, okay, they can just kind of leave these guitars out. Obviously, I'm not looking at these guitars, right? But I'm just saying this is the reason why it's so important for them to have a really strict climate control. I fucking probably really screw up my guitars by not paying attention to the humidity as much as I should. I do have a little mini barometer here. Let's see, it is within normal ranges. Although it's going towards dry a little bit. So this room is okay at the moment. So I was a little disappointed that I didn't walk in there and just see, shelves of new and old Torres models or, some very iconic flamenco or classical guitars. Didn't see that. Did get to meet Paul and Logan, who are the two sort of, I guess it's Paul's shop, but Logan does a lot of the video work, and they set me up, me and my partner Liz, they set us up in a room, and they were like, just tell us what you want, and we're gonna bring you guitars, and you can be here as long as you want. And I kind of thought I would be there like all day. And we rented that thing where it was like they would bring a guitar, would play it, and be like, that was awesome. That guitar is fantastic. I think we found the one. And then they'd walk in and be like, oh, here's one, try this one. And then I'd try it and I go, that was awesome. That's the guitar. And eventually, there were, I don't know, 10, went through more than 10, went through a lot of guitars and trying to kind of narrow them down. But I'll tell you what, sort of quickly ruled out the crossover guitars. Ruled out the crossovers because the crossovers, while they were, easier to play, they just didn't have the fullness that I was looking for. And I ended up really kind of thinking, well, what else I need is I don't need, but what I would like is the guitar that I purchased from Dream Guitars last year is, one, it's a flamenco guitar. Two, it's expensive enough that I worry about it when I take it out and when I play it. And I'll only take it out and play it under, special circumstances. I won't sort of practice a lot on it. I'll practice on this Cordoba, which is a factory-made guitar, right? Which sounds fine. There's nothing wrong with the Cordoba. But I was thinking to myself, well, there is a hole here for a guitar that maybe is a little more workman than the Frignani, which is the flamenco guitar, but has a better tone and better playability and has something a little different to it than a Cordoba. And I wanted a cedar top. So for those of you who don't know, I know this is super interesting for everybody. Generally speaking, flamenco guitars will have a spruce top and classical guitars will have a cedar top. Generally speaking, cedar is warmer and kind of has a more romantic tone. Spruce tends to be livelier and a little pluckier and a little more, feel a little more alive, right? So the Cordoba I have is cedar top, but it's a factory guitar. So went through a whole bunch of guitars. Man, there was one that was made out of all spruce. That must have weighed less than 3 pounds. It was so light. And it just you played it and the whole thing vibrated. But even with that, it still didn't quite feel good. I landed on guitar I have here, Australian luthier, and they do something a little different to get more bass and sort of roundness in their sound. Instead of having a 2-panel back, which they would have, a lot of these guitars, you have 2 pieces of wood joined in the center. They do an arched back, so it's 1 piece of wood and it's molded, and the arch is what gives it the strength that it needs to support the stress. If it were straight, it would need more bracings to do that. Which gives you more air in the guitar, right? To kind of more air to play with, right? That's what happens with those kind of guitars, with these kind of guitars. So it's Zirconi wood on the back, I believe Indian rosewood sides, maybe Zirconi on the sides, cedar top, mahogany neck, and this thing weighs a lot. And this is the guitar I landed on. This is the Ashley Sanders. It's got a little bit of marking on it, right? It's been played. It's 6 years old, right? So it's not the mint condition. It's not the flashiest looking guitar, right? And that is, in my opinion, right? If I wanted flash, right? To me, this is a flashy looking guitar. It's got all the little sort of accompaniments, and it's probably, this guitar probably weighs half as much as that guitar. if that. It might even weigh less. It's a highly figured bear claw spruce top. This is a more traditional cedar top, and it feels like I'm holding a tree trunk, which is good and bad. It's a little bit neck heavy, which I don't love. It's got a really, really thick headstock, which again, like, has good things and bad things. And you can see the back. It's one piece. And you can see the arch there. So it's one piece of wood. So this was after going back and forth with a bunch of guitars for a long time and trying to figure out which one sounded best, going off two things like the sound and the playability. And it's very, very loud. Super, super loud guitar. Okay. I didn't tune it just before I finished it. It's a little bit out of tune, but it's got. It's a lot of tune. It just kind of goes. Rings for a lot of sustain. This guitar. If it has a weakness, it is the highs are not quite as pronounced or as plucky. So yeah, I'm very happy with it. It definitely fills the niche that I wanted it to fill, and I don't feel like precious about it. I don't feel like if I bump it, I don't go like, oh my god, I bumped it, or I got a little scratch on it. And I have the steel string for if I need to. And this does have like a very round sound. So if I'm strumming. That's what it reminds me of a Paul Simon sounding guitar. And it's a little out of tune, so I apologize for that. It's got like a very flat neck on the back. You can see that there. But I'm happy with it. So, yeah, that was there were a bunch of reasons why I wanted to go down near Asheville. Like, I wanted to check this place out. This place has been on my mind for a long time. I wanted to check out the Airbnb. I wanted to sort of disconnect for a while. So I was able to do all that stuff and get to the thinking. I mentioned the Airbnb was Frank Lloyd Wrighty. It was called Artesia. And I will say, like, it was a long drive. Like, you were on a winding mountain road for a good 30, 45 minutes before you were by anything that could be considered like a gas station or whatever, But apart from that, it was beautiful. I'll show you some pictures. This is a window. But, it kind of shows the style like they went for. Like I said, it was that kind of 50s Frank Lloyd Wrighty style that the guy built himself. This is one of the bedrooms. It was actually a 2-bedroom house. They have those windows, I forget what they call them, the windows that are up high to let natural light in. So there's a lot of natural light going on. This round window I loved, looking out onto like a waterfall kind of feature. It sat on top of a spring. So all the water that you got there was from this spring, this very, very deep well. That's not this guitar sitting there. That's the Martin steel string sitting there right now. A couple more. Closer to the window, and you can see the outside. It was still quite cold. And I felt weird there drinking Fiji water with... It's funny you say that, Pivy. The beds were hard as a rock. If I had to say a negative thing about the place, it would be, damn, need a slightly softer bed. They say that a hard bed is good for your back. I woke up in pain every morning I was there, but it was still worth it. And yeah, that's kind of looking forward from the kind of kitchen into the living area out front. So yeah, it was like 2-bedroom, but this guy just made it from scratch. He built this freaking house from scratch. I thought it was kind of weird. Like, he built the house from scratch, and most of the furniture he built, but then there's this very, very IKEA-looking dinner table in the middle. It's like he almost made it all the way at the end, and he was like, "I'm not gonna bother building a fucking dining room table. It's just Amazon that." But yeah, it was beautiful. It was, like I said, like set back in the Blue Ridge Mountains, and pretty steep, a couple thousand feet up. Not enough that you could notice. But it was lovely. It was lovely. I didn't want to come back. And not just because the drive sucked. Which did. But I had fun. Oh, this is still going? Hopefully. Oh, that is muted. Whew. Thank God. Did very little hiking. Did some hiking. Just very little. The owners, they have 2 dogs on the property. And it was hilarious. The dogs just kind of ran up and sort of walked point while we were on the hike. Like, just kind of 2 of them on either side of the path, just kind of walking maybe 10 paces ahead of us. Almost like they were showing us around. Which is very, very sweet. Very sweet of them. Nice little doggos. Who else went on a holiday? Well, Pivy, you didn't need curtains because there was like literally nobody anywhere. Like, it was just nothing. I mean, unless you wanted to sleep all day, which you couldn't with that bed or those beds anyway. So, Oh, Stacy, you went on a holiday. Visiting the Republic? What is the Republic? And it was raining the whole time. That's a shame. It was perfect weather, except it was cold. It did not rain at all. Fantastic. So some stuff happened while I was gone. You'll see that Republic of Ireland. Oh, wasn't it always raining in Ireland? That's sort of a thing there, right? That's why it's so lovely and green. Yeah. Hopefully you still managed to have fun, Stacey. So what happened while I was gone? Well, this actually happened today. What the fuck, man? Justin Roiland just tweeted, "Justice. I have always known these claims were false, and I never had any doubt that this day would come. I'm thankful that this case has been dismissed, but at the same time, I'm still deeply shaken by the horrible lies that were reported about me during this process." Or should I do this as Morty? "Most of all, I'm disappointed that so many people were so quick to judge without knowing the facts based solely on the word of an embittered ex." It wasn't really based solely on the word of an embittered ex. It was based on a very clear pattern of behavior that you demonstrated and was shown. It wasn't like your record was squeaky clean, Justin, and this one person was, I'm mad at Justin. "Have me canceled. That may have succeeded. That it may have succeeded, even partially, is shameful, geez. However, now the legal case is ended, I'm determined to move forward and focus both on my creative projects and restoring my good name." My good name. He never had a good name. I mean, he was always problematic, or he's been problematic from the start. So I don't know what he's talking about his good name. How many employees? I don't know why I still have that High in Life stream up. I should take it down. I'm embarrassed that I enjoyed that game. But I don't know. I mean, what do you do here? I mean, the charges were dismissed. Dismissed? There wasn't even a settlement. Or maybe there was. I don't know. How does that work? So yeah, been thinking about a lot. Yeah. All right. I'm not feeling this anymore. I think I gotta own up to it. You shouldn't keep doing something just because you've been doing it. Or the sunk cost fallacy, right? Well, yeah, this was fun, guys. But I don't think I'm going to do it anymore. Probably not. I keep saying this, but I think that's what's going to happen. All right, have a good night.